We are on a food tour.
So I'm assuming the first place we're going to go is like going to warm us up. There's going to be like a line of people there. It's going to be really crowded. But no.
No. Nope. Nope.
Welcome to the Harley Malarkey Podcast abroad.
Abroad?
Yeah.
I fucking love broads.
How old are you?
I was doing the old dog, had to get in there. Yeah. We're traveling in time. We're traveling to different worlds. We hit the road. We thought we'd bring you along with us. We're in Vietnam, guys. We are in Vietnam. Okay. So I wasn't really paying attention to the itinerary. Harley D just told me she wanted to go to Vietnam and Thailand. And I saw the posters, I saw the movies, whatever. Whoa. You don't even know what we woke up into.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even know what we were getting ourselves into. Right now we're in the middle of Ha Long Bay, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, one of the new wonders of the world.
That's a float plane. That's a float plane flying over there.
It's beautiful. We're on a little private junkyard restored boat. I don't know. I think they called it like a junk boat.
No, remember, we're not being bougie. So don't say it's not a private boat. There's 100 other guests with us here. We're doing this.
Not that bougie.
It's not that bougie. Okay. It's nice. It's nice that we're the only ones on the boat.
So anyways, we would like to just fill you in on our travels. If you're thinking of going to Vietnam, or if you just want to live vicariously through us, we thought we'd do a bit of a travel diary. We flew out of LA. We flew on South Korean Airlines through Seoul, South Korea. And honestly, some of the best food we've had on this trip was on our plane flight. Great. We really enjoyed the Korean food on the plane and in the airport.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah,
great airport. You know what they had in the airport? They had life-size living trees. Not just trees, but pine trees.
Yeah, that really blew Brian's mind.
It was really awesome.
Good vibe, though. I was like, I would love to go spend like a couple days in
Let's
Seoul,
get to the
South
good
Korea.
shit, man. All right, the airplane ride was whatever. We landed. I don't mean to be rude.
You're annoying me right now.
But I want to get to the fun stuff.
So anyways, it's 24 plus hours of travel. We drove from San Diego to LA, flew to Seoul, South Korea, then flew and landed in Hanoi, Vietnam. We landed at like 11 a.m., got to our hotel. Some guy that picked us up at the airport wanted to give us the worst walking tour of our lives. And after 24 hours of travel, you're like, oh God.
He did. He said, I want to take you on a tour, but we didn't really go look at anything in particular. We just walked around and we learned about the turtles, the turtle lake.
Yeah.
That has no turtles.
There's like 2 soft-shell turtles left in the world, apparently. One female in Vietnam and one male in China.
And they just can't get them together. So we might lose these soft-shell turtles.
So it was a lot. It was a lot of a day to even have any more plans after that. So we had a little time to rest in our room. And then our Dana from Taboo Travel, I don't know if that's how you say it, but she helped plan our trip. And so she got us this local tour guide. And obviously Brian's a chef, so she wanted to arrange some food tours for us. So we had this local tour guide named Duke who was going to take us on like a street food tour of Vietnam. And
a street food tour of Vietnam. Now, just to remember, I was a bitch about the hotel room for a little while too. Remember?
Oh yeah, can be such a bitch sometimes.
So the hotel room is it's like old Hollywood, like. It's like the restaurant's called Backstage, and all the rooms are named after Greta Garbo, and I can't remember who we stayed in, but it's gold, it's bronze, it's Art Deco, it's like.
But it's kind of purposely obnoxious, and it's funky, and I'm just like, what? Like he did this when we were in Greece. I picked out a hotel that was like very nice. It was like one of the most expensive hotels in.
See, that's what we got confused with. We thought expensive meant nice.
No, but it was just like, it was a place to sleep at night that was very clean, very nice, but it was like more designed for old people. Anyways, I was paying for it. And
he was in Greece.
He was so upset about this hotel that it wasn't cool enough.
Because our friends had a hot tub on their deck that overlooked the entire Acropolis or whatever.
That he made me cry because he was so
I too was crying that I didn't have a hot tub that overlooked the Acropolis.
Okay, I mean, what a bitch does he sound like?
I do sound like a bitch.
And he did the same thing here, and it pissed me off here, too. So,
God. Seriously, because I would rather stay in more humble abodes with cooler views and stuff.
I like that too.
I love the top place that was like, meh.
I love funky, cool stuff. But when you're already there, there's a difference. And when you're looking to book something, you can give your opinion and you can say, oh, I'd rather stay here. Or I'd rather stay here. When something is already booked, to harp on how much you don't like it and how I made a mistake by booking it, that's a bitch move. Can we agree on that?
We 100% agree that was a bitch move.
Both times.
Zero is already until the last minute, until I walk in the hotel room, and then I got a big old fucking opinion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a bitch move.
You're working on that. So anyways, I thought this food tour was like, for white people. Like, I didn't think that it was for adventurous.
Okay, so maybe we weren't just getting along right there, and this trip started rocky. I'll tell you that. I was like, what the fuck about the hotel? You haven't slept for like 18 hours. You've been on planes. You're fed food and this. You're tired. So I bitched about the fucking hotel room. But now we have a bonding experience. Get ready. Take us down memory lane, Harley D. Woo!
So Duke picks us up. Duke is great energy right away, but I think might have been drunk already when he picked us up.
I'm hoping so. Duke was bubbly, alive. Duke is a professional. Like, Duke should have his own TV show.
He should have his own TV show.
He's about 90 pounds and full of energy, and we are on a food tour.
So I'm assuming the first place we're going to go is like going to warm us up. There's going to be like a line of people there. It's going to be really crowded, but no.
Nope.
The first place that we go is like down this shitty alley with all these plastic chairs.
No. The first one was just right on the street.
Well, it was on the corner of a shitty alley.
Yeah, sure. There are a lot of shitty alleys, but it was just a one pot, one lady, and no one sitting
It was not a restaurant. It was literally.
It didn't look like it was in high demand.
No, it was a lady cooking on the street.
The lady cooking on the street.
Like looked like for her friends, like not as a business.
Definitely no hand washing apparatuses. Well, that's going to just be a common theme throughout this entire evening. Yeah. Nobody washed their hands and everybody eats with their hands. So get ready for this one.
So this was pork knuckles.
Pork knuckles. So she specializes in just one dish.
Yes. And there are tons of raw pork knuckles around, lots of raw meats. I'm actually familiar with pork knuckle soup, also known as pigfoot soup.
Oh, yes.
Because my stepmother is Chinese and she also made this dish for me once. And she said, oh, this is so good. This is so good. We give it to women. I probably shouldn't try and do her accent.
No, not when you're in the land. You know what I'm saying?
We give it to women after they have a baby. It's good for the collagen. It's a pussy tightening soup. I'm like,
so we're starting with the pussy tightening soup. All right, that's what's gonna happen right here.
So he had me smell it, and it smelled like pig's feet. I was like, oh.
I thought you were going to say it smelled like pussy. That was a whole nother podcast. It was going to get really crazy. It was full flavored.
Yeah, the broth was actually amazing.
It came with, I think, some herbs and stuff like that. And we learned. This is the first time we learned that you sit in little tiny baby chairs, plastic, and you eat on little tiny baby plastic. I mean, we're real low.
Like,
and I thought
kindergartners, preschool.
Yeah, I thought this was just going to be the first booth, but come to find out, this is every restaurant in Vietnam has the same tiny preschool furniture.
And it's because I guess it's illegal to serve food on certain sidewalks. You have to have a permit for it, so you'll get fined. So they have all these really light, tiny furniture so that if somebody comes by, they can quickly stack it all and put it inside before they get fined.
Hit and run. All right. So this one's good. The broth is good. Yeah. We sit at our little table with Duke. We have some herbs. And I'm like a little skeptical. I'm like, oh my God. And the funniest thing is we did see this thing on Instagram. This girl was like going, my father taught me that if you eat crazy street food in foreign countries, just drink a Coca-Cola at the end of the night and you'll be just fine. So we're both already thinking, shit, we're going to need some Coca-Cola for this one. So I remember enjoying the broth.
Yeah, no, the broth was really good. Duke said, don't eat that much. We have a lot more to eat. And we're like, you don't have to tell us twice. So now we go to our second restaurant. I'm also thinking, this was probably the wild one. And we're going to start moving into more civilization after pig's feet.
Like it was like, I'll scare them a little bit with the street food here. Then we'll take them to, we're not looking for like a normal restaurant, but we're looking for one with other people eating at it. Yeah. And maybe a kitchen and a light.
The next one. Luckily, I don't know. I sometimes get nervous and paranoid about things, but I think I was too tired to even worry. So Duke's like, follow me. We follow him down this dark alley.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now the gummies are starting to kick in, right? You're not supposed to have this shit in Vietnam. So I had to eat it, right? And I'm like, we're following Duke down a very dark, long, skinny alley. Yeah.
And up a couple windy flights of tiny, narrow stairs.
I almost tripped 1,000 times. It was crazy.
And this woman, I think it's a 4th generation pho recipe. I don't know if they've been serving pho in her house for 4 generations.
Or if this batch had actually been cooking for 4 generations.
She was the cutest little Vietnamese woman, though. I loved her immediately. Great energy. and she cooks it in like the hallway of her home, and her bathroom's behind her, and then the bedroom's on the other side. And again, it's those tiny plastic chairs and tiny plastic tables, and there's strangers. Somehow people know about this place, and there's strangers just eating in her bedroom.
They're eating in the bed. The bed's right there. Our little table is right next to her bed. Her cooking thing is pretty much in the bathroom, and it's a pot, and she is the most delightfully beautiful. I mean, like, very nice, great smile. She's so happy we're there. There's another like 8-10 people that are not all together in different little small groups, sitting on the floor, sitting over here, eating the pho. This is legendary pho, back alley pho, Vietnamese style. And like, I'm telling you, I have never seen Bourdain do this shit. Like, we're in danger zone right here, and we're eating in her bedroom.
And it was the best pho. I think it's still the best thing that I've eaten on this trip. It was the best pho I've ever had in my life. The broth was amazing. I guess in northern Vietnam, they don't use sugar in their pho broth. In southern Vietnam, they do. But it's the most flavorful, delicious broth, even without all the sugar in it. And I felt comfortable there once I sat down.
There was very nice people smiling and laughing. They're going, look at the stupid tourists that Duke brought in here. They're like, oh, these guys have no idea what they've gotten into. But Ethan, grandma, the chef, comes over and checks on us. And I mean, yeah, you're eating on little kid plates in her bedroom right next to her bed. And the broth was literally, I was like, this better be fucking good, Duke. And it was fucking good.
It was so good. We had pho at the restaurant at our hotel backstage, which has a Michelin star. It's on the Michelin Guide. I don't know. It was so much worse compared to what this lady made for us.
This lady knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Right? And then we go down. Then we used her bathroom. You know what it is? I should almost do a whole podcast on people's restrooms that we use, because I have a small bladder and I have to go to the bathroom quite often. I drink a lot of water. And so I went inside the bathroom of every one of these unique places we went.
And all of these places are in people's homes, like, for the most part.
Yeah.
There are some street food stands that aren't, but most of them are in people's homes.
And yes, everything's kind of based out of like the front of somebody's house, and then they live upstairs and stuff from that.
But I think just another point is these people are all amazing. They're nice. They're so happy. And you have respect for the way that they live, and also appreciation for the way that you live, because most of them are living like 6 people in 100 square feet, one room house. Like, they all sleep on the floor in one room. They all use one bathroom, and sometimes they share a bathroom with like their whole community. They only have water in the morning or water at night, kind of depending on what part you're in. And they're all joyful and kind, and somehow we didn't puke after.
All right, so now we're starting to drink Coca-Cola. Now we've got our first Coca-Cola. We're like, oh, Jesus. Like, this stuff is intense. Like, there is no cleaning apparatuses. This is who knows what.
Yeah,
there's no refrigeration system.
They're hand washing the dishes at the pho place with, like, I don't know what water, like a bowl of water. Who knows where that came from? How
we're going for it.
Changed.
We're not scared. We're going all in, right? And then what I love, yes, what you did say, that they are the most beautiful people. They live in the houses together. It's a communist country that gives no economic benefits for being communist anymore. They're just taking and they're not giving. I'm learning a little bit more about communism right now. I don't have a full report yet, but I will get back to you on that one. But what I love the most is this is also our first night in town, and we're realizing how crazy traffic is.
Oh, yeah.
It's a city of 9 million people.
Yeah,
they told us.
5 million.
5 million scooters, not Vespas. There's no fancy Vespas here. These are scooters, right? And it's chaos. It doesn't necessarily mean what side of the road you're on. You can go either way. There's cars, there's this, but there is magic trick. There's a magic trick that you can do here that I don't know how it works. It's magic, right? But Duke taught it to us, and I've seen it a lot. If you walk across a busy road and you put your hand up in the air, they won't hit you. I don't know why. Like, they're coming right at you, but they won't hit you. Now, you don't put your hand up, you might die. But
that's the rule. We can't explain it, but it's the rule.
And Duke sometimes 2 hands, like a bear in the woods, like a bear. When a bear charges you, you're supposed to get bigger than the bear. Duke is a little tiny man, and he was putting up his arms, and nobody was hitting us.
Literally, you just wouldn't even look both ways. There's all these Vespas, cars coming at you, and you just cross. And it is obviously a very, very busy city. And at this point now, we've eaten in 2 very remote, very interesting places. And I'm starting to realize there is normal restaurants around, right? Like a lot of them.
And the food looks so fucking good. Yeah. I'm like, why couldn't we eat the pig knuckles in the place that has a sink and a kitchen, Duke? Right? And so What was next?
Well, Brian's always wanted to be Anthony Bourdain, so
100%. And you're going to find out more about that pretty soon.
Oh, God. I don't know that we have to go through every spot.
Let's just hit the real ones real fast. So we had the
snails.
egg thing. Oh, snails. Snails
Yeah.
were amazing. It was like lemongrass,
They're
ginger. garlic.
lake snails. What are they? River snails?
What is a snail? I don't even know.
I don't know. I ate one. I was proud of myself for eating one because I like escargot. I don't know if I like it. I like garlic butter sauce, but this was the same thing. They had some great like fish gingery sauce. So
fish gingery sauce. So anyway, and the serving contraption was absolutely amazing. It looks like something they cut from sheet metal.
Yeah, it's like a prison shake.
It's a definite prison shake. So the snails were amazing.
So the snails were also just one woman sitting on the side of the road with a bucket of snails.
But you know what? I felt okay with that one.
Yeah.
It felt safer there. It felt like you can handle snails. You can't handle pork knuckles and broth, right? Snails, they're there. You cook them up, you serve them out.
We had what they call Vietnamese pancake, which was kind of like rice paper with chili flakes and pork, not chili flakes, like fried onion.
Went to a lot of
then we had the sticky rice with mung bean. And I don't know if Duke knew the lady, but he just went in there. He's like, oh, try this. And he just reaches in with his hand and like hands it to me. Or I think he reaches in with his hand, puts it into his
himself. Mouth. And then he's like, oh, so good, so good. And then he grabs the scoop,
the serving spoon for everybody. And he just puts it in my mouth. And I turn it away. I'm like, I'm not going to eat from the general serving spoon, and grab a little piece off. It was good. And then at this point, we're like, okay, we've had enough, Duke. This is our first night here.
We're surprised. Die.
Yeah, we're surprised we don't have food poisoning. We're surprised we haven't been run over by a car.
And again, we keep seeing that they're not necessarily restaurants. I think it must be the biggest restaurant culture of any society I've ever seen, because I think everyone has a restaurant.
Yeah.
Like if you got a burner and a pot, you're open for business.
Yeah.
And there's just food everywhere. But there are some that you can start realizing, the crowded ones. This is what
with all local people.
I've always told Harley, I go to the crowded restaurants because they're going to be good. Their food's going to be fresh. They're going through it. Well, Duke doesn't believe that philosophy. Right?
But we made it through our last stop of the night. We're finally like, okay, we're done. Like, take us to the sticky rice and the ice cream. And there's this famous ice cream place that's been there since 1958.
1958? Pretty
good ice cream. 67 cents a cone.
Well, yeah, it was the most amazing commerce I've ever seen. It was like money, ice cream. They weren't scooping the ice cream to order. It was just coming out in giant carrier things of like 40 or 50 cone ice cream. And the person just kept appearing out of nowhere with them. And they would just sell them. It'd be like 5, 4, 3, 2, 10, 8. The lines were endless and they go forever. And there's like 4 different lines.
Yeah. So that was the end of our food tour. We went home. We were exhausted.
I'm starting a new ice cream franchise back in the States. Right? It's called 1958. It's going to just crush it. I just know it.
And we were exhausted. We were really scared to wake up, but we woke up. Our stomachs were fine. And
Coca-Cola. Yeah. The old wise tale, the old Instagram story. Papa, Dad.
I don't know.
Coca-Cola saved our lives.
But I'll believe in it as long as I need to. So the next day we had a tea ceremony with this tea master planned for us. And he's a very famous tea master. He's written books with I always say it wrong, Thich Nhat Hanh, a very famous Buddhist. And he recently did a tea ceremony with Bill Gates. He's done them for like every like really important Asian diplomat.
Like the head of China government, like the one that you see on the news, whoever, I don't think he's the king. He's the president or whatever they call the head of China. He did it for him. Everybody's really into the tea. Harley's into the tea. So you can imagine, I don't drink tea. I'm not really into this shit. All right. So.
Oh yeah. And it was long. I was kind of like, everybody pays him to do this. I mean, I don't know. It was amazing.
Tea master.
But I think maybe it shows of how our Western life, we're so used to hurrying through things and rushing through things. And I did try to immerse myself in the experience, but I could tell that my partner over here was crawling out of his skin for basically 90 minutes of the 2 hours.
Oh, true. Like we're lucky I made it that far.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
And it was really cool. We had lotus tea, which is very expensive. I think you have to use like 500 lotus flowers for a gram of tea, something like that. And then we had some black tea, and then we learned how the king drinks his tea.
How the king drinks his tea was the craziest story ever. Back in the day when the king was real living large, he would send his people, to go get the dew.
Morning dew off the lotus flowers and
collect that as my water for my tea. I'm like, whoa.
They believe the most important thing for good tea is good water, which is true. If you have bad water, even if you have the best tea in the world, it's not going to taste good. So we enjoyed our tea with the tea master. Oh, and then I asked him, how, because he wrote a whole book on happiness. So I said, what does it mean to be happy? And he said,
He's written a lot of books. The tea master had a lot of books.
Yeah. And he said, to be happy means to have peace in your heart. And to have peace in your heart means that you are comfortable being present and that you can be in the present moment and you're not thinking about where you need to go next and what you need to do and always worrying about the future. And he says that he has tea with so many rich, wealthy businessmen and none of them are happy. And it's because they're all so worried about what's going to happen next and they're not able to be present and have peace in their hearts.
And then about this time, I was starting to tune back in, going, hey, is this about done? Because I got a lot of things in my mind right now.
So Brian is going to start having daily tea ceremonies with me.
He did say that we need to have a daily tea ceremony where we kind of meditate and talk and listen to each other, which is delightful. And she said, yeah, we should do that. We'll only do like 45 minutes.
I said 30 minutes.
30 minutes. And I was like, whoa, let's just ease into this a little bit. All right. I've never had a 30-minute tea in my life.
He says I've got 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
We'll see.
What an asshole. What a Western fucking asshole.
So it was really long. And we get out of there and we had a back streets of Hanoi motorcycles planned on these vintage motorcycles. And we're both kind of like, we've just been on tour after tour and
overbooked.
Yeah, we were excited for this, but we're like, the guy's like, okay.
What's his name? Boo. Boo says, all right, we're going on your
4-hour tour.
4-hour tour. And I was like, no, not a chance in the world, man. You got us for like 2 hours. I said, let's see what we can do in 2 hours. And he's not shaken, right? But this all comes down to it. This is when it gets really good. All right, listen up, listeners.
And this tour was amazing.
All right, so there was a karaoke session going on in the hallways of the Tea Master's condo area, which was really a nice part of town, where they just get together and sing around here, right?
At lunchtime.
We saw some dance parties. We saw some singing parties.
Duke said it's all the women trying to lose weight.
Duke. Duke's not PC, all right? There's a lot of things Duke said that should never be said again. Anywho, Duke was telling me, because I noticed, eating dinner with Harley the night before, that there was no stray pets. There was no dogs. There was no cats. There was no pigeons. So I started asking Duke. I was like, Duke, do you guys eat dog? And he's like, yeah, we eat dog. I go, cat? And he's like, uh-huh. I go, pigeon? He's like, yeah. And so I said, I think I was first saying I want to go to the fish markets and the meat markets, but then all of a sudden there were some other markets we wanted to go check out. So
we did start our day by going to the wet market, which was one of the most fascinating things that I've ever been to. And if you're an animal lover, if you're a vegan,
do not look.
I'm sure this will cause you stress and pain, but it is just the reality of life. And, if you do eat meat, like you eat all these animals that we saw in this wet market, you're just more disconnected from it. Yours come wrapped in plastic, but we saw, how they kill their food here. There was just like cages of chickens that were waiting to be killed. And then as soon as they got killed, they were cleaning them and plucking them for sale. And it was all the fish, and there were pigs that they were butchering, and they use every single part of the animal. They're using the intestines, they're using the organs, they're using the feet. And I just found it incredibly fascinating to see the more natural way to source your food, I guess.
And I like what Harley says right there also. I use the shock factor. I'm like, I'm so excited to tell you what I ate. But in the reality, the people here ate these things, and they still eat these things strictly out of a need for survival.
Yeah.
Like the lack of food will make you do crazy things. And they respect all of the food that they eat so much.
They don't waste anything.
They do not waste anything. And the wet market is obviously, why it's wet, right? Right? Yeah, because it's happening right there.
Blood,
now.
Ice.
But the thing is, they'll harvest the chicken, they'll harvest the pig that day, and it gets eaten that day.
Yeah, nothing's frozen.
Nothing's frozen. Nothing's barely even refrigerated.
There's fish. The fish were literally jumping out of the like containers they were in on the road.
You know, I do want to be Anthony Bourdain. I do want to have that travel experience. I want to push the boundaries like Andrew Zimmerman and stuff like that, and go eat some fucking weird stuff. You know, celebrate the street foods and celebrate the different cultures. And so I had to go eat the dog.
Oh,
you know,
I know this is like one of the most frowned upon things in the world. I mean, Trump is talking about how they're eating the dogs. They're eating
holy
the cats.
Jesus! I just realized like I'm one of the crazy people that are eating the dogs. Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know if you should have admitted that. I don't know. We'll see if we leave this in. But I think the way that
we have to. They said even Bourdain wouldn't eat the dog, right? When I was in Iceland, Puffer and I tried to bite a horse. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
You know?
So I didn't, just because I was like, it's not something I am necessarily interested in trying. But Brian filmed everything. They did not want us to film the dogs.
There's 2 stands, and they call this the dark meat. Like,
well,
as soon as we got on
they do, because every time he's told a Vietnamese person that he ate the dark meat, they just look at him like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I don't know.
I think it's just such secret language that no one's supposed to know about it, and they're surprised I know the secret language.
Okay. Well, I mean, you do just have to look at it in a different perspective of like, they were eating these animals for pure survival. They're eating dogs, they're eating cats, they're eating pigeons.
And another good point you brought up is they raise them like chickens. They raise this specific dog.
Every single, and we went to one market, but every single dog that we saw that was cooked looked identical. It was the exact same breed of dog. Duke told us that they just eat the Vietnamese dogs. People do still have dogs as pets here.
Very few.
I looked it up, and they're like, part of the reason, you know, people say that they are torturing the dogs, or that the part of the reason that, you know, it's so much worse to eat dogs than to eat other animals like pigs, which are just as sentient, is
sentient, big word.
Smart.
Okay.
Feeling is because they're like going and they're taking dogs out of people's house. They're like dog napping them to eat them.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't find that to
it's
be
like
true.
Another breeding stock of animal
at
for
least
harvest.
Here. Yeah, I don't find that to be true. At least here, I haven't looked into the whole dog trade of the world.
I don't think we're going to.
And they're talking about how people are abusing the dogs before they kill them. I don't think that is what's happening here. Do I support eating dogs? Like, it's not my cultural practice. It's not something that I, you know, am accustomed to, or that's part of my culture. But I do think that there's an issue when we decide that as the United States, we have a moral superiority on how other people should live.
This got us into a whole nother thing too. This got us into communism. All right, guys, like we started going like, what is communism? Because I'm going to tell you something that's crazy about this place also is, although it's considered a communist government, they don't get the communist benefits where they get like money to live in this environment.
And they started stop subsidized living in 1990.
So they have the communists who kind of take control of everything, but yet give them nothing on the backside. But what they don't have here is they don't have crazy people with a bunch of, God, this could get us in all kinds of trouble, guns. They don't have crazy prostitution. They don't have the dirty kind of underbelly of the fucking society. They're very family oriented. They have Buddhism as a religion, but like the families that they build shrines in their houses for their elders, you know?
I don't know that has anything to do with communism or no communism, but I think it just...
Well, we're going to get a contrast because we're going to go to another non-communist Buddhist country next.
Yes.
Thailand.
Yes. But I do think we're like, wait, why was the Vietnam War fought again? Oh, to stop the spread of communism?
Like, how did that affect us as Americans?
Why did we need to kill hundreds of thousands of people? Why did we need to kill all these young Americans to police some other country's government? Like, yes, human rights issues, but like, we killed way.
That's all we got out of it. Was it if there was really human rights issues? Yes, we can see that being a reason to come in here and kick some ass. But there wasn't. People were okay. The communists were coming.
We don't know that they were. We really don't have the authority to comment on.
We should not be talking about this at all. Let's get back to food. But we just wonder. You know, we're just talking out loud, bouncing ideas off you. Okay, like just kind of thinking like, why do we go to war? But that's a whole nother world.
So we did go see the dogs. Brian ate a bite. I think that they like respected that he ate a bite, because I do think there's a lot of shame and like kind of vitriol and judgment around these people and their way of life.
They're trying to hide it from the tourists, and we asked to go see it.
So it's an interesting experience. Like, a lot of this was just like really opened my eyes to like, people live so differently than we do. And it's not necessarily wrong. It's not necessarily right, but it's very interesting to see how different places in the world are, because you can become very sheltered and very accustomed to like, oh, I get up in my house and I have hot running water and I have all this space, and you kind of just think that like you forget to have perspective.
Yeah, most of these houses don't have bathrooms in them also, and we went so much. The culture is incredible, and we didn't do the bougie fancy tour, especially with Duke. We got the back alley, we got the dirty, darkest like food, we got the craziest stuff, and it felt so good. And we're sitting on the water right now. I mean, like, because we deserve it, but we got dirty and grimy for 2 days and had a really great time and really eye-opening time.
It was like real travel. Like, I'm like, oh, I feel like I don't understand, but I learned a lot. Yeah.
One more thing I did want to bring up. The one thing I didn't eat, was the Viagra of Vietnam, and that is
the duck embryo.
The duck embryo, right? That's where it's like half baked inside the egg.
Yeah, there's like
we watched Boo eat one because we wanted to, and he said it worked. You just have to take Boo's word for that. All right. But man, we have chickens and we have eggs, and I love eggs so much. And if I ate an egg and I hated the egg and it grossed me out and it ruined my whole life, relationship with eggs, I couldn't handle that.
Yeah, it was intense.
I would rather eat a dog than a half-baked egg.
Yeah. Something else that they do here that I appreciated is that in every single house that you go to, rich or poor, they all have an altar to the dead ones and their loved ones who have passed on, like their mom, their dad, their grandparents. And every day they bring an offering to these people. They bring them fruit, they bring them tea. And they honor the dead as like still a part of life and still as a part of your life. And it's a side note is I have my Reiki practitioner, Megan, who I love, and she's kind of a medium. So she communicates, she kind of gets messages, and she'll share messages from my mom. And over my birthday, my mom was like, I really want you to put out an extra piece of cake for me when you have cake with your friends.
Oh.
So that I feel like I'm there. And Megan was like, it would be, your mom kind of wants to be a part of your life. Like it would be nice to like put an extra cup of tea out for her in the morning sometimes, or like do things like that for her. So I think it's kind of like
your own style of shrine,
my own style of shrine, or just your own style of like connecting with your loved ones who have passed on. I think it's a really beautiful tradition that they make their passed on loved ones like they're still here. They're still a part of life, just in a different way. And that's part of a ritual. That's something that I want to take on a little bit more, take home.
You hadn't even explained that to me until now. So maybe that's a lot of the reason we do the podcast is it's actually a time that she knows I'll actually pay attention and talk somewhat, you know?
No, he's not that bad. I wouldn't be with him if like it was just this.
Self-depreciation is one of my assets. Is that what it is?
Deprecation.
Did I mess it up?
Yeah. Depreciation is like depreciation of an asset.
Well, I am doing that too. I mean, I kind of, if you look at a timeline, like he's depreciating, you know, he really is. He really is. You all are. I'm just at a different point in my depreciation. So. Yes, dirty food, yummy food. Oh, one thing. Hey, when I said I ate the dog, all right, I didn't like sit down and enjoy a plate. I had 2 bites. Okay, I was like, I had to do more than one, so I did 2.
And I think it was more respectful to eat it. I mean, I know that there's going to be a lot of differing opinions on this, but instead of us being like voyeurs and going in and videotaping them and being like, oh, look at this thing that they do and judging them, he was like, oh, look at this thing that's totally different than what we do. I'm going to see what it's all about. So
I'm going to try
I think it was.
And I had it with ginger and spices and all kinds of stuff. And, you know.
It wasn't for him.
I didn't spit it out. Sorry.
He didn't love it.
I didn't love it. Okay, that's okay. There's a lot of other things. I didn't eat the duck embryo either. So, anyway, so that's just our first 2 days on this epic adventure.
Yeah, I don't think, is there anything else?
We're getting along great after that plane ride and that weird hotel she booked us into. And we're really bonding over some crazy foods, some crazy times, some crazy motorcycle rides. The motorcycle rides were fantastic. And we made it all 4 hours.
It was super fun.
4 hours. And I mean, we saw the back cultures. We went outside the city limits. We went around and did this. So definitely get out there. Anytime you go to any country, don't stay in the epicenter. Don't stay in the downtown, the touristy trap. You want to get away from that as far as possible. Rent a moped, go for a walk, go for a run, get on a bicycle, and get away from the main attractions of the city so you can see who the real people are and what's really happening in that community, in that society.
Yeah, and if you are going somewhere as like far as this, like I think a local guide is so amazing. If that can
a local guide and a Coca-Cola at the end of every travel night.
My stomach is feeling a little bit off today. I'm just praying it doesn't get any worse.
And that's all we got.
That's all she wrote for now. Follow us on iTunes or Spotify or YouTube. Leave us a rating and review. We love it. Send us any questions.
Yeah, I dare you to.